In this video, we will be looking at the difference between, converting between degrees and radians. So this one always gets a little bit confusing, and hopefully the old iPad's working this time. So what we have here is a circle, and let's just see, make a little comparison between degrees and radians. So we know there's 0, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and then it goes to 360 degrees, right? Now we learned previously, or we already know, that there is 2 pi radians in a full circle. So let's just write that in, that there is 2 pi. Okay, it's just loading up now. That there's 2 pi. So if I go all the way around, that's 2 pi. Now I know here this is 0 radians. We start off with 0 radians. So if I go half the way around, this bit here is going to be pi radians. So therefore, pi radians is equal to 180 degrees. Now, if you keep going, we know that this is going to be half. This will be half pi, and this would be 3 halves. So 3 pi and 2. Okay, now let's have a look at our converting. We need to convert 60 degrees into radians, leaving your answer in terms of pi. They also might say living in exact form. So to go from degrees to radians, we know that 1 degree is equal to pi on 180 degrees. So if you've got something in degrees and you want to convert into radians, right, you multiply by pi on 180. Okay, so 60 degrees times by pi on 180. Okay, we want to figure out what that becomes. Now what I like to do is cross cancel. So 60 on 180 is the same. Well, we know we can cross out the zeros, right? 0, 0. So we can do that. And 6 on 18 becomes a third. So we have 1 times pi on 3. Bring them together, pi on 3. Okay, this is our process for doing it. Let's move on to B now. We need to convert into radians yet again. And you can write R here, but typically, if it's in terms of pi, we know what it is. 90 degrees, we do the same thing. We times by pi on 180 degrees. We notice 90 and 180 just cancel out. We know that's a half, right? So this is just pi on 2. It's a pretty straightforward one. Let's look at something a little bit more complex. 192 times by pi on 180. Now let's pretend this is non-calc. We'll just have to keep chipping away at this. I do know that we could maybe take in a factor of 2 at least into both of these. So let's divide them both by 2. This will become 90, and the top bit will become 96, right? I hope I got that right. Yes. So it'll be 96 multiplied by that. And can we keep chipping away? Well, we can see that 12, 9. I think a factor of 3 goes into both. Okay, so we know this will become 32 times by pi on 30. And we can keep chipping away here. I know 2 goes into both, so this will be 16 pi on 15. Okay, 16 pi on 15. There it is there. And, you know, if you can see those bigger factors, that's great. I'm not as good on the factors, but if you reverse engineer it, you go 2 times by 3 is 6 times by 2, so 12 was a factor. All right, now we want to go radians to degrees. So we know that 1 radian is equal to 180 on pi degrees. How do we get there? Well, I divide both sides by 2 pi, basically. So 360 degrees is equal to 2 pi. 1 radian, divide both sides by 2 pi, so it'd be 360 on 2 pi, which is 180 on pi. So if you want to think about it, we are going from radians and we want to get to degrees. We've got to multiply by 180 on pi. So off we go. Part A here, we're going to multiply this by 180 on pi, and that's just loading up here. So multiply by 180 on pi. Now one thing you may note straight up is that we can cancel those pi's out, okay, and we're just left with 180 on 8, and it's just about kind of finding those common factors. Divide by 2, divide by 2 again, okay, and it says to the nearest degree. Well, that's going to become 23 degrees. It's 45 divided by 2 is 22.5 and to the nearest degree is 23 degrees. Okie dokie, now 7 pi on 3, let's do the same thing. Our first step is to multiply by 180 on pi. The pi's cancel, and now we have this 7 on 3 times by 180 on 1, if you want to think about it. Now we can't simplify tops, but we can simplify diagonalies. So 180 divided by 3 is 60. So we can write this as, we're going to divide top and bottom by 60. Divide top and bottom by 3. Okay, we can't go any further. So 60 times by 7, or 7 times by 6 is 42. So it will become 420, and then add the degrees. The next one here is 2.3. Now, this one here says to the nearest degree, and this is probably a calc question here, but you go 2.3 times by 180 on pi. So this will be in a non-calc, and I've just got to pull out my class pad for this. Okay, and off I go. I put in 2.3 times by 180, and don't forget that little shortcut, which is really nice, and I'm just going to go put that in a nice little fraction there, get rid of this, and if you press Shift 0, out should pop a pi, and I'm in standard mode, go to decimal, make sure, it doesn't really matter if you're in radians or not, 131.78, so 131.78 degrees, okay, and there's our answers.